In 1862, after failing to pursue General Robert Lee's army aggressively after the Battle of Antietam, Major George McClellan was removed from command of the Army of the Potomac. His replacement, General Ambrose Burnside, feeling pressure from Washington to move quickly, developed a plan to beat Lee to the Confederate capital city of Richmond. Instead of the planned southwest movement, Burnside opted for a rapid southeast dash towards the lower Rappahannock River to position himself between Lee and Richmond, requiring crucial speed for success. Leaving the Warrenton area on November 15th, Burnside moves his 100,000-man army 35 miles to Falmouth on the north bank of the Rappahannock. In just 2 days, despite its strategic location between Richmond and Washington, D.C., Fredericksburg remains relatively untouched by the war. Unfortunately, the destruction of bridges prompts Burnside to order portable pontoon bridges. But bureaucratic delays in Washington jeopardize his plan to surprise Lee upon arrival in Falmouth. While Burnside waits for his bridges, Lee gathers his army. James Longstreet's wing moves east from Culpeper, and Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson's men hurry toward the Rappahannock. From the Shenandoah Valley, Longstreet takes up a position on Mary's Heights, overlooking Fredericksburg from the west to the south. Jackson's men are entrenched in a line stretching over Prospect Hill and onto Hamilton's Crossing, 4 miles from the town. On November 25th, Burnside's long-awaited pontoon bridges begin to arrive. December 11th, an engineer regiment begins to assemble the pontoon bridges opposite the town. In the foggy pre-dawn hours, Confederate riflemen, hiding in buildings along the riverbank, harass the engineers and slow their work. As the bridging process grinds to a halt, Burnside approves a plan to shell the town and drive out the Confederate snipers. Late that morning, over 150 Federal guns arrayed on Stafford Heights bombarded Fredericksburg, blasting scores of buildings and terrifying the civilians. After 4 hours of shelling, the engineers return to their bridge work and the riflemen resume their shooting. Another option is desperately needed. Burnside meets with his officers and approves a plan to send a landing party across the river to hunt down the Confederate snipers and secure a bridgehead in the town. Colonel Norman Hall, a brigade commander in the nearby 2nd Corps, volunteers his brigade to row across the river. Under fire, regiments from Michigan and Massachusetts successfully crossed the Rappahannock and drove the riflemen from the river bank. More Union regiments follow across the river, and the Confederates withdraw after a few hours of house-to-house fighting in the street of town. December 12th. The remainder of Burnside's army crosses the river and occupies Fredericksburg. Burnside planned to deploy Major General William Franklin's Left Grand Division, comprising nearly 60,000 men, to defeat Jackson and crush Lee's southern flank. The remaining forces would hold Longstreet in place on Marye's Heights and provide support to Franklin if necessary. December 13th. The Union's main assault against Jackson reduces initial success. In an area later known as the Slaughter Pen, Maj. Gen. George G. Meade's division briefly pierces Jackson's line and threatens the Confederate right. However, lack of coordinated reinforcements and Jackson's powerful counterattack stymie the effort. Both sides suffer heavy losses with no gain on either side. Burnside's diversion against Longstreet's veteran Confederate soldiers produce horrific Union casualties. The front of Longstreet's position is a sunken farm lane at the foot of Marye's Heights, full of Confederates 3 ranks deep. Wave after wave of Federal soldiers advance over open ground to take the road, but each is met with devastating rifle and artillery fire from the nearly impregnable Confederate position. Undeterred by the withering fire, Union forces persist in their attempts to break through the Confederate defenses. The battlefield echoes with the sounds of gunfire and the cries of the wounded. The struggle intensifies as both sides remain entrenched. Locked in a fierce and deadly confrontation, the outcome hangs in the balance. December 14th, that evening, as darkness falls on the battlefield strewn with dead and wounded, it is clear that a Confederate victory is at hand. The hideous cries of the wounded echoed through. Burnside wrote orders to renew the assaults on December 14th, wishing to lead them personally, but his subordinates dissuaded him from this suicidal scheme. On the evening of December 15th to 16th, Burnside skillfully withdrew his army to Stafford Heights, dismantling his bridges behind him. The Fredericksburg campaign had ended. The Union Army of the Potomac suffered more than 12,500 casualties. Lee's Confederate army counted approximately 6,000 losses. The Federals retreated, losing an opportunity to advance further into Confederate territory and capture the capital of Richmond. Despite winning in the most overwhelming tactical sense, however, the Battle of Fredericksburg proved to be a hollow victory for the Confederates. The limitless resources of the North soon rectified Burnside's losses in manpower and material. Lee, on the other hand, found it difficult to replenish either missing soldiers or needed supplies. The Battle of Fredericksburg, although profoundly discouraging to Union soldiers and the Northern populace, made no decisive impact on the war. Instead, it merely postponed the next on to Richmond campaign until the spring. Thank you for watching this video. I look forward to your likes and comments so I can discuss this battle more rudely.